Hi, I'm Steven Ramirez, the CEO of Beyond the Arc, working in fintech and marketing strategy. And today, I could not be more excited. I've got Mike Duncan from BankJoy. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so there's a lot happening at Finovate here in New York, and I think one of the most exciting things is what we're seeing in terms of digital banking. In some cases, digital banking might feel like it's been around forever, and maybe for some banks it has. But of course, there's a sort of a modern spin on where digital banking apps should be. Where should they be? What's the difference between a modern digital app and one from 20 years ago?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest direction that we're headed in terms of digital banking right now is just in terms of how much value we can actually offer to the end user. And where we've been has basically been, smaller banks and credit unions have been trying to stitch together a complete solution by, pulling together a dozen different vendors and stitching them all together and weaving them into some sort of broader solution. And the problem with that has been, as one solution gets modernized, but the other stays a legacy and outdated. It's been so hard to evolve that to something that's going to be really valuable to the end user. And so where we are now is, the tools are in place. Software development has never been easier to accomplish, and we can actually build really powerful tools that help people accomplish real meaningful things, such as understanding their money better, helping them develop better personal financial wellness. We can really take digital banking to the next level, so move it beyond simple lists of transactions and simple lists of balances to real meaningful value that's going to help transform someone's life.
Now, my firm, Beyond the Arc, we've worked with some of the top 5 banks. They have literally billions of dollars to develop mobile banking and digital banking. No credit union has that, no community bank has that. How do they compete against these national banks, international banks, that have these amazing resources?
Yeah, that's always been a challenge. Going back, think about the challenge between the competition between IBM and Microsoft, right? And when Microsoft was a little startup and IBM is this massive company, how in the world can Microsoft actually build and deliver software that is so competitive and eventually become a larger company than IBM, right? And it's always come down to bigger companies with all the resources they have always fallen into the trap of becoming too red tape, too bureaucratic, and it always inevitably slows them down to a degree that a smaller competitor that's moving fast, that's working day and night, that's passion driven, that's mission driven. These companies inevitably will find a way to run circles around those companies until they're much larger, and we see that in the financial space as well. And there's really two things, right? The pure size of these larger institutions makes them slow. And that's why we see fintech evolving so much faster than what we see the banks being able to provide, and why now banks are partnering with fintechs in order to provide more value, more innovation faster. But that's one, just the pure size of them. Two, it's their ability to go out to the market and actually attract the best talent in the world to go build their products. And startups, hyper-growth startups, have for the past few decades have been a great place for amazing software developers and product people to go and work and to build value because they're basically working in a rocket ship that's eventually going to give them lots of upside down the road, and that's just the way startups work today. So startups are positioned to get the very best talent to build the best things in a way that big companies are not.
Well, I think that big companies are definitely challenged with innovation, right? It's really hard for them to be able to implement, and I think that's what a BankJoy brings, right? It's the ability to do that quickly. Now, I'm a small business owner, right? So I've got just a handful of people, and I'm always surprised, like on the consumer side, my digital banking experience is great. As a small business owner, there's a huge gap. Do you see that? And is there an answer? Is there a way to address what small business needs from digital banking?
Yeah, so there's a big gap, and it doesn't matter the size of the institution nowadays. So, larger institutions, the problem they have is that they've built or they've worked with a company that's built up a business banking solution for them, and these business banking solutions are so complex. They're so feature rich because the needs of businesses are so complex that it's so hard to modernize, to maintain the modernization of that platform.
And I can't even find what I'm looking for.
It's like a million different places to look. And when that software was built, it was probably built in a time when user interface and design was just an afterthought, right? So smaller institutions, the problem they have is that they're not lucrative enough for the companies that are actually building solutions for this, and they're not. These companies that offer solutions, they're not built for scale in such a way they can profit from a smaller FI. So our smaller FIs, $100 million and less, even slightly bigger than that, they're not getting competitive solutions to larger FIs for that reason. And so in order for a small FI to be really competitive, they have to find a partner who's very scalable, that's built for scale, that can provide solutions like that down to the smallest FIs, and still have the advanced enough solutions to make that attractive to their business owners, which should also make it attractive for bigger FIs, $1 billion and above in assets.
So Mike, just one last question for you. I know that BankJoy is doing a lot. What are some of the things kind of coming down the pike that you're most excited about? Or what are sort of the one or two things highest on your radar?
Yeah, so we've been working so hard over the past few years to build out a full end-to-end solution for banks and credit unions. So that includes mobile banking, online banking, account opening, loan applications, conversational AI. So now that we've got this foundation laid, what I'm most excited about is where we go next. The layers of value that we build on top of this foundation. This is on both the retail side and the business side. On the retail side, I'm most excited about what we're going to do with the platform to begin to help people become financially fit, to help them understand their money better, become financially well. We believe that if we can do that through our community banks and credit unions, we can uplift our communities by uplifting the individuals who are using these products, helping them understand things, engaging them, teaching them financial literacy and education. And what we do then is we can bring similar tools to businesses and help those businesses thrive in our communities as well. So there's a really focus on local for us and what we can do to provide value into our local communities.
Excellent. Well, Mike, thank you very much. This could go on for a long time. You've raised a lot of great issues, but I know you're going to be demoing here at Finovate, so I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And thank you all for joining us here at Finovate 2022.